Hey, what's up everybody? It is me, Fai Fai, or Faith, whichever you prefer to call me. This is my mess of a room. I've set things up differently so that I'm actually sitting in a chair for once and not just on my bed, but you can still see all my lovely chibis. So let's get right to what this video is all about. So I have not done a Faith reviews in a good few months, so I decided that I wanted to review the Disney trilogy of Star Wars. So if you all don't know, I am a Disney shill, and I don't know if this comes as a surprise to many, but I have mixed feelings about the Disney sequel trilogy of Star Wars. For the sake of clarification, I will only be discussing Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. While I will bring up the original trilogy only for the sake of argument, I will be strictly reviewing these three movies, what I liked about them, what I would improve upon them, and what I disliked about them. So the reason that I am reviewing the trilogy is because I am in a group chat with a bunch of my friends, and one of the memes between us is that we don't bring up Star Wars because everyone will start arguing and everybody will start just going crazy about their opinions on all the different Star Wars movies. So this is my way of arguing with all of you, but in video form, so I hope you all enjoy. Joe and Lewis, I'm looking at you too. While I understand the price that I shall pay on Star Wars Twitter, especially with the Reylos, because my opinions on that whole ship is a controversy in that community, I hope you all enjoyed this video, so let's get right to it. Let us start with Force Awakens. I thoroughly enjoyed Force Awakens because it seemed, almost in my opinion, like a classic Star Wars movie, but with better special effects and more modern writing. The writing feels very fresh, and it was frankly, in my opinion, enjoyable to see Rey to be more childlike and more of a character that was meant to be built up rather than someone who didn't seem like they had potential. While from the bat, I don't think she was necessarily the best character, she was still something that was willing to be worked upon. I also really enjoyed Finn. He kind of brings a face to the faceless stormtroopers, because we haven't really seen the stormtroopers get any characterization or humanity put behind them. They've always been depicted as these pawns of war. Another scene that I've seen this in was in The Mandalorian. There is a specific scene where two stormtroopers are interacting and they're just kind of goofing around. While they're portrayed necessarily as not the best people and not necessarily the brightest, they're seen as, again, people, and you have this humanity added to them. I think they did that with Finn, but on a greater scale, obviously giving him more focus, putting him as one of the main characters. I think it brings a lot more to the world of Star Wars when it comes to the First Order, the Empire. It just adds more to this idea of war, because when we look at war, we have to see it as both sides have humans and humanity and people in them, and I think that adds a lot more to the idea and the feeling that this is a war and not necessarily just good bad kind of idea. I also think it's kind of cool to see that there is a defect in the brainwashing technique they obviously use to get stormtroopers to obey orders. This, I think, is a kind of cool idea to delve into in the Star Wars universe, obviously again adding to the stormtroopers are human idea. I also enjoyed Poe, even though he wasn't as much of a key player in this movie. I still enjoyed the introduction to him. He's a very Han Solo-ish character, and Han Solo was one of my favorite characters in the original trilogy, so his character being this kind of more, I guess, easygoing Han Solo type figure was really nice to see, and I liked his character in this movie specifically more than I think the other movies. I also liked Kylo. I felt that this was probably one of the best movies to show the full potential of his villainy, to see that he's really just a child. He's a confused little boy inside. He's overruled by his arrogance and his own self-grandeur. I also like the idea of Rey's parents being left a complete mystery, because I think it adds to the idea that it doesn't matter where you come from, that everyone is capable of great strength and great resilience. Few things I'm going to sprinkle in that I'm not going to get into like super crazy depth about, but just to add to what I like about the movie is I liked Rey and Kylo's first fight. I liked Rey and Finn meeting up. I also really liked the scene between Poe and Finn as they were escaping the main station, and I also liked Han's death scene. I think it was really well done, and I think it was a great send-off, honestly, for his character. There was a lot in Force Awakens that I enjoyed and thought worked very well, but I did see some downsides. One of the things I did not enjoy was the way that Leia was presented. While the idea of her still being this military type figure was a good idea, I think, the idea of her being stoic and the way they presented her to be just kind of more depressed and almost hopeless was kind of upsetting to see, because as a little girl, I remember looking up to Leia being this feisty, strong warrior woman who didn't take shit from anyone, and to see her kind of roll over and just feel so hopeless when I grew up seeing this hopeful figure was kind of disappointing and almost a little irritating to see on screen. One of the things that I think is probably more of a fanficky idea that I had was I didn't like that Rey was the Jedi. I think it would have been really interesting to see Finn as a Jedi, or at least do an idea similar to the Force Unleashed games, where they start out with the Empire and start out as someone who's being used as an instrument of the First Order or Empire, whichever you want to go with. They're being used as a dark tool almost, and then over time go to the other side, or at least learn more things along the way, from going from one side almost being brainwashed and not really understanding what they're doing is necessarily wrong, to overcoming that and becoming on the other side, or at least understanding what they did before was wrong. I thought that would have been really cool to see with a Jedi in a movie, because again, the only time we've really ever seen that was in the Force Unleashed games, and I think it would have been kind of cool to see that on the actual big screen. Now, one of the ideas I also thought would have been cool to have been brought up in the sequel trilogy is, and maybe this just is stemming from my own ideology, but is it necessarily moral to control large portions of the galaxy? Whether it be from the Resistance or the Jedi side, or the Empire/First Order side. Is it okay for large groups of people who are purely driven by an ideological stance to control these large portions of the galaxy? Now, obviously, if you look at the Empire, the First Order, and you see them controlling people, and basically wiping people out because they want to be the ultimate rulers, is that you're obviously going to say, that's not an okay thing to do. But again, is it necessarily moral for the Jedi to do that? Is it okay for them to do it, but it's not okay for them? I don't know. Again, I think that's just stemming from my own libertarianism ideology, but I thought that would be an interesting thing to have been brought up. One of the things I didn't like also in this movie was the end, where Rey decides to leave Finn in order to seek out Luke. I think knowing their relationship and seeing how it was built throughout the first movie, it would have been more likely for Rey to have either waited for Finn to wake up or just stayed there and waited it out. Because again, they built their relationship to be very close. I mean, Finn literally just lied to the whole Resistance so he could go save Rey, and she very clearly has this really deep connection to him, so I didn't like that. It felt really off, and it felt more fan service because they wanted to get the new Jedi with the old Jedi, and I think one of the better candidates to have gone to go find Luke would have been Leia, but again, I feel like it was not really done well, in my opinion. I think it was more of an excuse to split them up rather than, oh, well, she's doing it for the sake of good type idea, if that makes sense. So overall, I really enjoyed Force Awakens, even though at the end it seemed like I was tearing into it a bit too much. I did actually really enjoy it. My first viewing of it, I really enjoyed it. Obviously, the first viewing, I remember crying when Han died. I actually remember when I went to go see it, but all that put aside, I think it was pretty much a probably 6 or 7 out of 10. It's not my favorite Star Wars movie, but it is definitely one of the ones that I think isn't as bad as a lot of people say it is. Now onto everybody's favorite part of the video, and the most important part of the video, the shilling of my TeeSpring. Once a month on my TeeSpring store, I do a charity fundraiser. This is always related to the certain awareness of the month, and for April, the awareness was alcoholism awareness. 100% of the profits will be going to Alcoholism Research Foundation, where they are finding ways to try and combat the alcoholism addiction. So if you see all these designs, if you see one that you like, whether it be on a mug, a sticker, or a t-shirt, it will all be going to Alcoholism Research Foundation. As well as my alcoholism awareness fundraiser, I am also doing a COVID-19 fundraiser where 100% of the profits from all these lovely designs, whether it be on a mug, sticker, t-shirt, whatever, will be going to the COVID-19 Global Relief Fund, because obviously all of us have been affected by the recent outbreak of coronavirus. Whether you live in the US, you live in Europe, whatever, wherever you live, wherever you work, you've been affected by this, and so this relief fund is going to be helping those who have been very severely affected by it, because again, lots of people have either lost money from not being able to go to work, lots of students have been not able to go to school and get their degrees, or even go to elementary school. I mean, everyone's just been affected, so please consider getting any of these designs or even donating directly to the Global Relief Fund, because again, we've all been affected, so let's try to fix it together. Anyways, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It would make my day. If you have any thoughts, like what's your favorite Star Wars movie? What do you think of the sequel trilogy? Tell me all those lovely thoughts in the comments down below. And if you like my content, whether it be my faith reviews, my true crime videos, or whatever else I do, go ahead and subscribe, because that would be just awesome and lovely. So, as always, let's try and make the world just a little less shittier. I'll see you all next time. Thank you.